All right, we're about to dive into one of the most famous and honestly most debated verses in the entire book of Revelation, but we're going to look at it from a completely different angle. This explainer unpacks a fascinating interpretation that centers the meaning of Revelation 1:7 not on some distant future event, but on the cross itself.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll take a fresh look at the verse itself. Then, we're going to decode what those divine clouds really mean. After that, we'll zero in on the witnesses at the cross and explore this radical idea of the cross as a moment of glory. We'll unpack the incredible victory cry, "It is finished." And finally, we'll see what this all means for us, for reigning in life today.
Okay, let's jump right in. We're starting by putting Revelation 1 verse 7 under the microscope and looking at the two main ways people understand this powerful verse. This is really going to set the stage for everything else we talk about.
And here it is, "Behold, he cometh with clouds." I mean, it is just packed with incredible epic imagery, right? You've got him coming with clouds, every single eye seeing him, a specific shout out to the ones who pierced him, and this worldwide reaction of wailing. Every single piece of this verse is loaded with meaning.
Now, the traditional view, the one most of us have probably heard, sees this as a literal physical second coming sometime in our future. But there's another perspective, and it's a powerful one. What if this verse is actually describing a divine revelation of glory that already happened at the crucifixion? In this explainer, we're going to explore the scriptural case for that very idea, the cross-centered view.
So to really get our heads around this interpretation, we need to do a little bit of detective work. Let's dive into the original Greek language and the historical context behind some of the key phrases in this verse. It's fascinating stuff.
The verse kicks off with the Greek word idou, which we translate as behold. Now, this isn't just a casual, hey, look over there. Think of it more like a divine trumpet blast. It's an announcement that demands your absolute, undivided attention. It's a signal that what you're about to hear is of cosmic importance.
And here's where things get really interesting. The Greek word for cometh is erkatai, and it's in the present tense. It doesn't mean will come, it means is coming or is arriving. This suggests something happening right now from the perspective of the writer. It's immediate, it's active. That simple shift in tense can completely change the timeline, suggesting we're witnessing an event as it unfolds, not waiting for one in the future.
All right, now for that central image with clouds. This interpretation argues that we're not talking about fluffy, white, literal clouds in the sky. Throughout Scripture, clouds are often a powerful symbol for the very presence, the authority, and the undeniable glory of God. So when you see clouds in a passage like this, it's like a neon sign flashing divine encounter happening here.
And this isn't some new idea pulled out of thin air. The Old Testament is just filled with examples of this. Daniel sees the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven to receive his kingdom. Isaiah describes the Lord riding upon a swift cloud to bring judgment. And remember, in Exodus, when the tabernacle was finally finished, a cloud covered it and the glory of the Lord just filled the place. So this symbolism of clouds representing divine glory is ancient and consistent.
Okay, so if the coming with clouds is this big revelation of divine glory, then the next logical question is, who saw it? Let's move to the next part of the verse and really look at who the witnesses were and how they reacted.
The verse says, "Every eye shall see him." Now, this view suggests this is talking about something much deeper than just physical eyesight. The Greek here implies a kind of universal perception, a spiritual aha moment, where people suddenly get who Jesus truly is. This is so important because it shifts the event from being just a physical spectacle to an internal, spiritual revelation that dawns on people.
And then, Revelation gets super specific, right? It says, "They also which pierced him." This is a direct echo, almost a quote, of a prophecy from Zechariah. That's not a random detail. It deliberately anchors this whole event in a very specific context, the act of the crucifixion itself. The people who were right there, the ones who pierced him, are the primary witnesses.
And what was their reaction? They wail. The Greek word used here, kopsantai, is so intense. It doesn't just mean crying. It describes this deep, physical act of mourning, like beating your chest in anguish. So this isn't the wailing of fear, like you're about to be judged. No, this is the wailing of profound grief that comes from the sudden, gut-wrenching realization of who they had just killed. Think about that Roman centurion at the foot of the cross, when it all clicked and he said, "Truly this man was the Son of God." That's the moment.
And all of this leads us to the absolute core of this interpretation, the idea that the crucifixion wasn't a moment of defeat. It was the ultimate moment of victory and glorification for Jesus.
You know what's incredible? Jesus himself saw it this way. Right before his death, he said it plainly, "The hour is come." that the Son of Man should be glorified. He directly connected his own death to his glorification, using that beautiful analogy of a seed that has to die and be buried before it can bring forth an incredible harvest.
The Apostle Paul makes this connection even more explicit. He writes that it was precisely because Jesus humbled himself, because he was obedient all the way to death on a cross, that God highly exalted him. See, the exaltation didn't happen in spite of the cross, it happened through the cross. The ultimate humiliation was the very pathway to the ultimate glorification. This just reveals a stunning divine paradox, doesn't it? To the world, a crucified Messiah looked like the definition of weakness and failure. But in God's economy, that apparent weakness was actually the ultimate display of his power, and what looked like foolishness to the world was in fact the ultimate expression of his wisdom. You really have to get your head around that paradox to see how the cross could be a moment of glory, not of shame. So let's lean into that moment of victory. Let's examine Jesus' final words from the cross, not as a cry of despair, but as a definitive, triumphant declaration that the mission was 100% complete.
It is finished. Just 3 words, but they are probably the most powerful words ever spoken. This wasn't a sigh of defeat. It was a shout of triumph. It was the declaration that the entire plan of redemption, from start to finish, was complete. Done.
So, what exactly was finished? Well, everything. The demands of the law were totally fulfilled. The price for sin was paid in full. Atonement was made. The authority of Satan was decisively broken. The veil in the temple was torn from top to bottom, restoring direct access to God for anyone. And the old covenant was brought to its perfect completion, kicking off the new covenant right then and there. It was a total, absolute, cosmic victory.
So what does all this mean? If the ultimate victory was won at the cross, what does that mean for you and me, right here, right now? This last part connects all this powerful theology to its very practical implications for us today. Because of what happened on the cross, believers are given a completely new identity. Peter calls it a royal priesthood. I mean, just think about that combination. Royal speaks of authority, of being a king's kid, and priesthood speaks of having direct access to God and living a life of service. It's an incredible identity. And here's the kicker. This isn't just something we hope for in the future. It's a present tense reality. The scriptures say believers are already seated with Christ in heavenly places. We are called to reign in life now. This identity, this authority, it's for today. So we're left with this final, massive question to think about. If the moment of ultimate divine glory was revealed through an act of what looked like ultimate human weakness, what does that do to our entire understanding of power, of victory, and what it truly means to reign?